my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach, I can see those lights. My dreams are reach, I can see those lights. They on the other side. I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach, I can see those lights. My dreams are reach, I can see those lights. They on the other side.
Welcome to Would You Marry You, where we have candid conversations about what we are bringing to the table. I'm your host, Taffany, and today we're going to have an amazing conversation with one of my besties, Krystal Travis, who is the owner, founder of Label Breakers, because we're going to have a conversation about becoming authentically you, being able to remove all masks. So, Krystal, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. This is exciting.
I'm so super excited to have this conversation. I remember when I first met you and you were talking to me about Label Breakers, it was like this light bulb went up on in my head because there are so many labels that I had attached to myself because of things that had happened to me, because of things that I had done, because of all of the stuff I had been through in life. And when you started breaking it down to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like this has got to be from the Lord. So can you tell me a little bit about Label Breakers and how it came to be?
It was definitely from the Lord. But as I started writing the book, Label Breakers, Finding Your Identity in a World of Labels, I was in a writing group with a mentor and going to write a fiction story. That was my intention. But he took me in my writing trailer and Label Breakers came out within maybe a week or so.
Wow.
Like the first edition, of course, has been through a lot of revisions since then, but that was part of a writing course that I did. That was supposed to be fiction, but he had his professional editor and everything go ahead and edit it for me, even though it was nonfiction. And so that happened, but then it was still a few years down the road before I actually published it and put it out. And that was just a timing that he still had to break off some of those labels, right?
Wow.
Like, you wrote the book, you did the thing, but he knew that the timing was, if somebody came against, like, those labels still might be there, because I was always very sensitive to what others said about me, how they interacted, taking things very deeply inside. And, you know, like, you'd be somewhere and somebody would say something and you couldn't think of what to say, but then, like, the next, you would think about that all day, all night, like, oh, I should have said this, or blah, 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 you know. And so that, like, was always going on in my head, good or bad ways, you know. So it was his timing that he put it out where it's like, okay, this is time, like, it can go public. And it's still in its growing stages, so I'm sure he's still preparing, preparing your heart for when you're ready, you know, like when you're ready to step out with him. And so it's been an incremental, my honey teases, like, it's been a 10-year process to get my book out there. But hey, it's all in his time, right? It's all in his time.
That is so beautiful. So when I started listening to your teaching, your coaching, your expert experience in words, and just how you articulate the understanding of what labels are, in the back of my head, I'm like, she's walked through this. Like, it was just, it immediately went to me like, this ain't just somebody that just wrote something.
Right.
This is something this is personal. So can you tell me, were there particular labels that you had to break off?
Oh, girl, absolutely. One of the biggest for me, and I think a lot of people, was fear. Fear was a huge label in my life. And it started out when I was young. I was pretty brave, you know, but then as you get knocked down through certain things, you get attacked, different things, fear took over, where it was my continual thought in everything. So Fear of how you looked, fear of what you say, fear of being liked, fear of being not liked, fear of my children came along, like what's going to happen to them, fear of losing my children, fear was into everything. And so he worked on that through different retreats we went to, different processes, different steps. Like I said, it's a lifetime process, but that was definitely a strong label. That took a decade or more to, once he started peeling it, to peel it. Like in the book I say, you can either rip off the label like a Band-Aid, which sometimes happens, or it can be like a splinter that is like festering under the skin. And
that's so good.
You can either, dig and dig and dig at it to pull it out, and there's still little pieces that may come out, or, you can leave it there and see if it'll fester its way out, which sometimes it does. So yeah, fear was definitely a splinter label, not a Band-Aid label. And then so in the book I talk about core labels, and then ones that become our core labels. And so as you work on those, other ones start peeling off or breaking.
That's so good. I remember, I don't know if you've read this, there's a book called Pigs in the Parlor.
Yes.
And it talks about how you have that core, and then they're talking about fallen angels, but how the fallen angels are things that get attached to us, and then there's a core person or core angel, but then all of the smaller ones out, and they're like, they push the little ones out front so that they can get, so that strong man can get to stay. And I kind of that's what I picked up on when you talked about labels, and how, as you start dealing with that one, then all these other things start showing up. How did you see those things show up in your marriage?
So connected to fear, a lot of it. Another one of my huge labels throughout starting in my marriage, because it started when I got pregnant, and was fat. Like, actually, it didn't start then. It started when I was young. Like, it was a label that always was concerning, like you have to be on a diet, how much do you weigh, what do you, like all the things. And when I got pregnant with my first child, I was deathly ill, threw up everything I ate, went to the doctor, and I gained like 60 plus pounds, and then 60 plus pounds with each, and so that label, fear attached to that, which attached to, it came onto health issues and emotional issues and trauma stuff. And so when you start, and we got married young. So my husband was 19 for 1 week when we got married, and we had our oldest 4 days before he turned 20. And our first anniversary was like 11 days away. So we got married young, and all that started. So I became it was the label of transitioning of who you are. And then we actually moved into my parents' basement, remodeled, made an apartment. So that whole thing of, now you're a wife, but you're still living in your parents' house as a daughter, and you're having your first baby, and you don't really know what to do. And so that did bring a lot of things into our marriage that where, what, am I a wife or am I a daughter, and how to do that. And so
that is so good. I didn't even think about that, because you're not in your own place. You're still under the covering. That is so good.
Yeah. So we transitioned through that quite a bit in our marriage, and ended up where we did move out of state. And that did help, solidify a little bit, what our family is and who we are. But then we did move back and took over running a small motel for my parents, which they were away, but then through different things they came and started to run the motel too. So we were back under that again, but just with more children and more things. So that was a lot we had to work through in our family and in my marriage, and still, being the wife and the mom, and how much authority does my parents still have over them and over us, and there was a lot of labels that we had to come through. So when the recognition came writing the book, and going through, in the book I have 12 acts. So some of them seem repetitive, and some people were like, well, these are repetitive. And I'm like, they do seem, but each one, as I worked through them, like goes deeper, and it takes off that label a little bit more. And so it's still like our youngest is 18, so she just recently moved out with her brother, and they're like, so we kind of have an empty nester house, which is a whole different thing. And
Any more babies coming?
I hope not. I said no more babies for me, God, but I'll take all the grandbabies you want to give me. So grandbabies, I hope.
I'm just saying, empty nest.
Right? Well, we always teased our oldest. Maybe this is too much. But we're like, we saw it in a movie one time, and it was like Naked Tuesday. So we always tease. We're like, don't come back on Tuesdays once you leave. Don't come back on Tuesdays.
It's so funny. You said something that I want to go back to. When you guys came back to, or went to wherever to run the motel, and your parents did come back, was there a space where a label got placed on your marriage?
Girl, yeah. There is a lot. I mean, it's been a real learning process. And one of my greatest prayers from the beginning of our marriage, because it started out where I knew him since he was 12. And he came to our church. He was best friends with my brother. We were all three, friends. And then it transitioned into, he asked my brother, can I ask her out? And then he was always a part of our family as a friend. And then, transitioned. So there was a lot of hurt that came, even from my brother to his friend and this and that. And then being close, living in the same house and then to go back. Yes, there was a lot to work through, and it's not all the way done.
Right.
Truthfully, it's not all the way done, but we've gone through a lot of healing and a lot of transitioning and learning, and yeah, sitting here listening to some of your previous guests, and that where she said she wanted a second chance. Ooh. See, she's making me cry. Wanted a second chance to do it right. And so yeah, I'm thankful for those second chances and learning how to listen, be quiet, step back and pray, and let God move and heal in those things, because there's still a lot. I mean, there's a lot that we're connected to.
Well, we're on a journey, right? And we won't complete this journey until we cross over into glory. And so it's so beautiful that our Daddy God just loves us to another layer of freedom, another layer of breaking a chain, another layer of breaking off labels. It's just this love that he has, this overwhelming love. It's like, baby, you're doing so good. Come a little closer. Come a little closer. And it's like, but it hurts, Daddy. He's like, it's okay. Just come a little closer. I got you. I remember one time I had a vision back in, I want to say it was 2011, 2012. And I was walking down through this path, and it was holly bushes. You know, holly bushes are sticky. And I started feeling pain in one of my arms, and I went to look, and there were thorns all down the back of my arms. And I went to pull them out, but it hurt really bad to pull them out. But when I let them go, it hurt even worse because they were going deeper. It's like the more I pulled, the more it hurt. And it's like, but I knew I had to get them out. And that's kind of what it's like when it's like walking from underneath these labels and walking from underneath these places of hurt. And then how much do we put this boundary around us that don't allow these people, these spirits that are working in these people, because I try to make sure that I be able to differentiate between the two, to not come back in and create this new layer of mask and things that we put on to make it look pretty and make it look okay, and still have to deal with them and love them and from a distance. And it's just it's a real thing that we go through, isn't it?
Definitely.
I love the way that you articulate that, though, in your teaching, because it's like I don't even know that I have a specific label until I get that first label off.
Right.
And that's when it became obvious to me, like, oh, shoot, still dealing with that.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with that. So how do you help people to walk through that space? Can you just give me a little bit of your steps?
So like the first step is recognizing, right? You gotta identify and recognize. So, so the first thing is just simple, like write down anything that's ever been applied to you, you know, and it can be from big to little to whatever, because lots of times we don't even realize. Like some people will talk to you and they're like, I don't got any labels on me, or I don't care, or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Okay. And then some people will sit down and in like 30 seconds they can pour out 1,000 labels that are on them, right? So there's that difference in that recognition. So first is, you know, you just kind of identify what's there, and then you go through the process of, well, does this one still apply? Like, is this one still real to me? Is this one one that I'm still dealing with, or was it something in the past? And you can like quickly weed out, you know, different ones until we get down to the ones that are really there. E2 that are I don't want to say controlling your life, but sometimes they are. They're controlling your life. Yeah. And so you can decide, and that's the great thing. I mean, once we recognize the negative ones, and sometimes some of the negative ones, when we work on our other ones, actually can become a positive. Like one of those for me was resilient, like on my list. And I didn't like that one because resilient to me meant I was going through a lot of crap.
Well, yeah.
I'd be like, and you know, to be resilient, I was like, I had to do this and do that. And I'm like, God, I'm tired of being resilient. Like, can we like move past that one? And so as I worked through some of the others and some of the pain of what being resilient meant, and know that he was with me, that he was there, that there was healing, then I came to love that one again. You know, it's like, thank you that I'm resilient, because now we're here,
right,
you know.
right.
And so in the process, it can change as you recognize and you work through those labels.
So when you say what labels you have, are these labels that like people have spoken over you, or it's how you felt?
Both. Like it can be whatever is affecting you. So it can be what you speak over yourself, which those ones truly are the strongest labels. You know, if the ones that other people speak over us can have a power over you, definitely. But it's when you internalize what they speak over you that they become more strong. So definitely those ones that you speak over yourself or come into agreement with what others have spoken over you are the ones that are going to be the ones that we need to pay attention to a little more. And it can be, like I said, it can be a fast process sometimes, and sometimes it can be slow, or it can be a mixture, you know.
So when we look at the title, Would You Marry You? What are some of the things that we can do in preparation for stepping into the covenant of marriage, or any relationship for that matter? Because ultimately we're the common denominator in every relationship. So what can we do to make sure that we are relationship ready?
Wow, that's a good question. I think that is where you're recognizing who you really are. I mean, that's the part with label breakers we say is, you know, your Father, the Creator, whatever word you want to use, you know his true identity of who he says he is, but in that process, we help to come to know our true identity and who he says we are too. And so that is like the first step in any relationship, even with ourselves, is knowing what we were made in. So a core scripture that we use in label breakers is Psalms 139. And a lot of people know that psalm, you know, I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. And we know that part. But there is so many other great verses in that psalm that we need to know. And that's something that like we dig into in label breakers, because I mean, one of them in there that is a true promise for me that I didn't even realize. I love the Passion Translation too, so how he breaks it down.
I love it.
In there he says that his every thought is of us continually all the time. I mean, have you sat with that, thinking that your creator, every thought is of you continually all the time? I mean, and when we're created in that, like, how can we not be lovable?
Right.
I mean, how
Right.
can we not be somebody that other people want to spend time with, or that we want to spend time with, if our creator wants to spend every second with us?
That's so good. I had one of my spiritual fathers wrote in his book, Dr. Neil T. Anderson, that you can't consistently behave in a way that's inconsistent with what you believe about yourself. So when you said, like, do you realize just how important you are to our Father God? Like, when you think about that, I don't know, it just makes me giddy. I'm just saying, because my daddy loves me that much.
Yes.
And being able to sit in that and just soak up the fact. Because one of my labels was that I was unlovable. So that scripture speaks very strong to me, because it's like, if he feels like I'm that important, if you don't think it, that's on you.
Right. Absolutely.
So no longer was I thinking I was rejected or abandoned or all of those other labels that I had attached.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, that's your loss if you don't want to spend time with me. You don't know what you're missing out on.
That's right. And if you don't, I have someone over here who's really good. So
hello, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I'm super excited about what is next when it comes to Label Breakers. I know you have the book, and what else do you have when it comes to that?
So we're open. We're taking steps, whichever direction. But I mean, he has given us 50 acres, and our heart's desire with that is to build a place where people can come and they can get rest and restored and revelation, with him as you sit in that. It's in nature, so a lot of people, nature rejuvenates people, but also to, have that community where people can come to and just get built up and feel the love of each other. Because I know, us through these last couple years being in those communities of closeness are a huge thing. So that is big on my husband and my heart, is to be able to make that place. And traveling, girl, I don't know, my honey, he wants to travel.
Ooh.
So wherever he opens doors for traveling, like, we're ready to go, step it out, and just share the love that how much he loves us, the restoring love, because right now our world needs a lot of love.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of love. There's
Oh
a
my
lot
gosh.
of people that are hurting and broken and have a lot of labels and don't know if they can get them off of them. So however he wants to open the doors and speak the love, and we can all do that so easily, right?
Yep.
Just with a smile, just with a hug, just with whatever, we can help break the labels off of people little bit by looking in their eye and just recognizing them, even for a second, that they're important.
And a lot of people don't know that they're important, because it has been just so passive. Everybody's so busy and into their own things that it's easy sometimes to forget. I remember I try to make sure that when I go out to eat, that I call my server by their name and not just, hey, can you, like, literally calling them by name.
Right.
Letting them know that they're important, that they're thought about, that they're special, that they're accepted, even in that little short period of time that we get to spend with them on that space. But if I didn't know who I was, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I am super excited about what God has entrusted in your hands when it comes to Label Breaker. I seriously remember hearing that the first time. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So give our audience a chance to know where they can find you and how they can connect with you, because I think that what you got is something really special, especially as we get to start thinking about, would you marry you? If you go into any relationship with labels on, you're going to see that other person through the labels that you carry. So it's so important that we take the time to get to know who we are authentically, not just who we think we are or who people have told us we are, because like she said, some things people say to us, some things we take on ourselves and we say to ourselves. So how can a person get in touch with you if they want to go through this process?
So the easiest way is just go to labelbreakers.com, and on there it will have information where you can, join up, be a part of the community. We do live events. Now we want to do more on our property, but we do small live events at my mom's place in Georgia, where we actually get to work with horses and bring in the inner healing of that. So that is labelbreakers.com/event if you're interested. Amazon has the book if you want to get it on Kindle for free, or Audible. Well, not Audible, but Kindle, the ebook. We're working on Audible. But yeah, every Wednesday night we do a Label Breakers podcast, where we have amazing guests like Miss Taffany here come on, and that is such an honor to have the people come on. That's a big part of breaking your labels. The 12th act is to share your story, because everybody's story matters so much. No matter if you think you've arrived or not arrived, or whatever you're in, your story matters. So yeah, we do that every Wednesday at 6 Central. So
super exciting. Well, guys, I hope something was said today that will bring you closer to being able to answer that question of, would you marry you? Break off them labels. I'm telling you right now. Get in there and find out who you are authentically. Because listen, God says he knows the plans he has for you. But have you even become the you that you need to be in order for him to share his plans with you? So as I say all the time, don't just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer of the word, because ultimately you are the common denominator in every relationship. Until next time, see ya.
bye.
I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. They on the other side. I'm walking around with my head held high. I'm walking around with my head held high. You know why? You know why? My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. My dreams are reach. I can see those lights. They on the other side.